Hey everyone, I'm Vicky Hell, and I'm really excited to bring to you, I think it might be the first YarnYAY crochet along. 5 years, first one. Woo! But I'm extra happy because we're doing it with my dear friend Julia, who I've known back since my Yarnspiration days. So it's been a minute. She was an in-house designer then. Now she is a independent designer, but she's also the YarnYAY design manager. We could not live without her. And I was so proud and excited to see her first Pom Pom Magazine design be published in the current issue. I believe it's issue number 44. It's the overprint bag. And we're going to talk about, we're kicking off the crochet along, but I wanted to start with Julia talking a little bit about the bag and the process to get, I find these things interesting, maybe you will too, the process of getting, pitching a design and getting it published in a very cool magazine like Pom Pom. So welcome, Miss Julia.
Hello.
Hello. So I want to kick off. So we will, at the end of this, we'll talk about all of the details for the crochet along. You can also, if you're feeling antsy and you want to know right now, you can go to Ravelry, to the YarnYAY Ravelry group, or to Facebook, to the YarnYAY Facebook group, but more on that soon. Julia, first of all, let's talk about how you pitched to Pom Pom. Was there a call that was put out? Or did you just blind submit? Take us through the process just a little bit. And then actually, let's start with you talking about the overprint bag, which I love so much, and where the idea came from. And then we'll go into how the process went.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's pretty interconnected, so I kind of have to talk about both at once. So the bag, I have my issue here, is on the back cover, which is super
I know.
convenient.
I got my physical issue yesterday, and I like gasped. I was at the YarnYAY Studios, and I was like, she got the back cover.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like winning an award or something.
It is. It's so good. It's so good. Is this your first published design since you've been independent?
No, but this is the most high profile.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done work for some other people for sure. It is kind of funny because I used to work for Yarnspirations for a yarn company. I've done things that are much more complex, and it's kind of funny that the high profile pattern, this overprint bag, is getting so much attention, but it's really a very simple design. But that's the kind of stuff I really like to do, and the stuff I really like to make personally is it doesn't require too much concentration, but has some attention to detail, like, a cool color placement and maybe some neat finishing details. And that's what sort of keeps your interest as you're going along, but, is fun and portable and
Yeah.
easy.
I mean, I think both of us are very much about not making things complicated just so we can say they're complicated.
Yeah, yeah. I find it frustrating when there's maybe an additional technique or something added into a pattern. And after I do it, I realize, wait, that wasn't really necessary. And I had to learn a new skill. And,
Watch 3 videos, pull it out
I
sometimes.
understand people
Yeah.
get really excited about
Yeah.
new techniques and they want to throw it in. But maybe that's just something that comes with experience. When you've been doing this for a long time, you realize that sometimes less is more.
I feel like that. I mean, that's my design aesthetic anyway, but I feel like you can have a beautiful project without there being 7,000 techniques and also keep it interesting for the knitter or crocheter by having just enough. Now, also, you and I are both mothers. We both work. So part of that just might be realistically fitting, well, for us design, but also crocheting into our life. But also, I just find that I tend to like the aesthetic overall when they're not too crazy pants. I don't mean not too crazy pants with color, obviously, but I mean as far as lots of techniques, lots of shaping, lots of short rows, lots of brioche, lots of anything.
Mhm.
Sometimes just a
Yeah, and
little.
I get lost when I do a pattern like that. If you put it down for a couple of days and then pick it up again, you're like, where was I?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I love about this bag is that, like you said, it is simple in the fact that it is a form of, do we still call them granny squares if it's not traditional? Granny stripes?
That's up for debate, man.
I know.
I wish I could get a definitive answer.
There's no
For
answer.
me,
And
I
you're
like to
actually writing a
consider
book
it.
that relates to this.
Yeah, yeah. I've done a little digging on this. I feel like in like common parlance, a granny square is any crocheted square. But
But then us, we're like, well, actually, it's not.
yeah,
Like
that's not a crochet. That's not a granny square.
yeah. Well,
I think of the classic. Oh, I'm like sitting on
the clusters. It's like what everybody
yeah,
thinks. Yes. So, anyways, it's a
but
square. We're going to just say square. It is that, but what you did, because you were trained as a graphic artist, what you did is you brought in this really interesting element of color that makes it seem a little bit more complex. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
sure. Well, back to the sort of submission process and everything. Pom Pom has a theme for each of their issues. So they put out a design call for each issue with telling designers the theme of the issue. They put together a mood board on Pinterest, so you can kind of get a real look of a good idea of the look and feel that they're going for. So that was really inspiring. I mean, sometimes I get design calls, like I'm on a lot of lists, and I get design calls, and sometimes I'll look at their mood board and I'm like, that's really nice, but it's all gray, and that's not me. So this one really spoke to me because it was really bright and fun.
What was the theme?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I mentioned it's layers.
Oh, so it wasn't about color because it had such a distinct palette. I would have thought like it was, I mean, I guess the neons and neutrals are kind of always their thing, but I would have thought that it was somewhere in that realm.
But the interesting thing is they made mention, and this is what I was inspired by, of thinking of layers in terms of printing techniques and not so much like ruffles and layers of fabric.
Yeah. Oh.
So they mentioned risograph printing or risograph. It has a very distinct look. It's like kind of neon looking, which is kind of a rudimentary photocopier meets screen printing kind of look to it. But that's what I was thinking of for this, because these squares, I wanted to do something that was really simple, that looked like a transparent overlay,
Yeah.
yellow and blue, yellow and pink makes orange thing. And as much as I love intarsia and fair isle and all the sort of traditional color work techniques, I really like to try to combine color with simpler techniques, like either directional knitting, like picking up and knitting, or with crochet, it's super easy to make pieces and patch them together. So, I mean, that was the inspiration. The design call was really the inspiration for that simple patchwork grid. But then I thought, okay, well, how do I take this up a notch and make it a little more interesting? And I think what sets this bag apart from a lot of simple knit and crochet bags is the construction. I'm trying to find a good picture here, because it's not just two pieces sewn together. It has a gusset, what I'm calling a gusset, as side pieces. And it's folded in a way that, why can't I find a decent picture of this?
Well, I'll add a picture.
It's shaped like a plastic bag, like the cheap disposable plastic bag.
Yeah.
If you really look at it, it's kind of folded in on the sides and the straps are doubled.
Mm.
And that was important to me too, because there's a lot of, a knit or crochet bag can be really disappointing if it's too stretchy, and the straps tend to get stretched out with wear. So this is doubled and folded into the sides. So it, it just has a sort of more interesting construction.
Super clever. And honestly, just when I got, so just as some backstory for folks watching this, Pom Pom Magazine is located in London, but for the past 5 years, maybe longer than that, they've also had an Austin satellite office, because the two partners that founded it, one of them, who is American, moved to Austin. So Megan Fernandez lives about, 15, 20 minutes from me. And so the combination of that, and then, you being a part of it, I just felt like we really needed to all sort of come together. So when I messaged Megan, I think I texted Megan and I was like, we have to do something together to cross promote. So she sent me all these pictures before you had sent them to me. And the first thing I was just like, darn it, Julia, like you're so smart. Like the simplicity of just that one square in the middle for overlapping. And now that I know that the theme was layers, it makes so much more sense. It was such a small detail that completely, it was like, that makes so much sense. And I never would have thought of it. It's amazing. So I love that. And I love the construction. So you come up, did you know immediately that you wanted to do a bag?
No, and I mean, this is the spring issue. And I also submitted a top. I usually submit more than one thing to a design call. And so I thought, okay, I'll do a garment and an accessory or some kind of non-garment. And for spring, I'm like, you're not going to do mittens or,
Yeah.
any kind of warm weather thing. So I thought, well, what about a bag? And I actually had to sort of go back and think like, wait, do they do crochet? Because I'd prefer to do a bag in crochet. And Pom Pom tends to be, I think a lot of publications are actually including more and more crochet lately. It's not so separate anymore, those two things. Yeah, so I submitted both and I got that acceptance call and was like, yay.
Yeah, I love it. You mentioned a top. I actually have thought about making this as a top, like not as a bag.
Yeah.
Like it would be actually a really cute as a square neck vest or like, just crop top, just exactly how it is, except for getting rid of the gussets. So
I mean, they're just squares. So I mean, you could use that placement to make an Afghan or whatever.
It just just seeing it from the front though, I was like, that's a cute vest top too. So cute. Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about what people can expect for the crochet along? Mainly, so I'll cover details and maybe you can jump in with the sort of talk a little bit about the tutorials that you have put together via either tips, blog posts, or videos. So first of all, you can find information on Julia's blog. You can find information at YarnYAY.com under the overprint bag kit page. Pom Pom Quarterly has also been gracious enough to give us a special discount code on the digital issue that includes this pattern. So you can find that on the product page, or you can simply go to the YarnYAY Facebook group. And I've dusted off ye old Ravelry group that I started 8 years ago and then stopped using. I dusted it off. It was my name. I changed it to YarnYAY. And so we have a thread right there. What's great about that one is you can actually, in Facebook groups, there aren't threads. And so if you like your things to be all neat and tidy and together, that's a great place to go. So you can go there. Also subscribe to my newsletter, to the YarnYAY newsletter, all of the things. But here's the layout. So every Wednesday, starting on the 29th, which is the day that we're recording this, YarnYAY will send out a video, or excuse me, an email, including the video tutorials for the week, blog posts, any extra information, and also we'll be hosting giveaways. The giveaways will vary each week. It'll be yarn one week, it'll be a subscription box the next week, and then we'll end with a kit for a few winners that involves one of Julia's designs and my yarn, which is Vicky Howell, Montoya Merino Light. And so you can see all of the schedule at all of the places that I've listed. And so that is going to go, it starts the 29th, and then the last week is April 19th. So that'll begin the week. We're beginning the week on a Wednesday. But we'll obviously check in on the groups, like for as long as it takes, folks to make them, we'll be checking in. So
no pressure to finish.
Yeah.
The time period.
Although
a little bit.
The last giveaway may or may not have something to do with people finishing it. So, but no, do it. As I always said, and honestly, even if you don't finish, we're all about it just being an experience or the process, whatever you need to get out of it, take out of it. So that's how it goes. Some of the videos will be past videos that I've made that are just for basic stuff that you need to know. And then the sort of things that apply directly to this bag, the special skills Julia's handling. She's also put together great content as far as videos and blog posts. Do you want to talk a little bit about what they can expect as far as your blog posts and videos, special skills that are involved for this particular project. And, you're kicking off today with a blog post, and tell people where they can find that blog.
Right. Well, it's my name, which is probably posted somewhere with this video, juliamadill.com. Pretty easy. You can click on the blog from there. As far as support goes, I'm going to hold your hand through every step of this. And it's actually quite easy at the beginning. I've already started my Montoya Merino Light version. At the beginning, you're just making these squares. So it's well suited to beginner crocheters, knitters that just dabble in crochet. Or if you're like a total expert, this is such a fun, this is movie knitting, right? Or crocheting. So it begins with a magic ring, which you can, if you haven't done that before in crochet, you can learn. I have a video for that. It's not mandatory. There's other ways to do it, but if you want to give it a try, we're going to support that. There's an interesting chainless starting double crochet.
This blew my mind. I messaged Julia. So I've been crocheting since I was legit 8 years old, and I've been doing this professionally. I think this is my 19th year. I had never heard of this. And this is why these crafts stay exciting.
Yeah.
It's because part of it is it being an oral tradition. Like even in this day and age, like a lot of it still just is passed down. But I love that this new technique. And again, this isn't one that you have to do if you want to do a chain 3 to start your round, but it really does look better. So tell them what it's called.
Shameless starting double crochet, I think so. Like CSDC is what I called it in the pattern. Yep. So it's an optional technique. It makes it this is where the join is, and it blends in so much better than
a little cleaner. Yeah.
Then you make straight side pieces, which are just double crochet in rows. So if you're new to crochet, it's great. You're practicing working in the round. You're practicing working rows back and forth. You can practice keeping those sides straight. And then seaming together, I used crochet mattress stitch. It might go by other names, but it's a fairly invisible way of seaming crochet pieces together when you're working, because this is the edge when you're working in the round. This is the top of the stitches. So when you're joining tops of stitches to tops of stitches, this is a really great way to do it. So there'll be a tutorial for that. And then the big one, which I have yet to create because I don't have all my pieces yet, will be the bag assembly, because there's great support in the magazine. There's diagrams, but some people work well from diagrams. Some need to see that right in front of them. It's not difficult, but reading through the text might be a bit of a slog. It's nice to have that support with a video. So I'll walk you through that, how to fit the pieces together. And then the very top is crocheted right on the piece after you've assembled all of the front and the back and the sides. So I don't think there's going to be anything to walk people through there.
You've also put together, so just to be clear, the yarn that is used in the magazine is not my yarn. I forget what it's called. It's a cotton, but it's a Dutch cotton, I believe. So
it's from Denmark, so it might not
Denmark.
Be
oh, it's from Denmark. So yeah, and so I actually tried to find the US rep because we were going to go that route for kits, because I just wanted to support this, and it's a little bit difficult to get. There doesn't seem to be a US distribution company, so it's a little difficult to get it. If you can get it, do it. We put together our kits for in my yarn, but please don't feel like you have to use either of those yarns to join in with us. We just want you to have the experience, to gain some knowledge from Julia, and just have a good time. So there's that. And you've also which brings me to the first blog post that you've posted, which is all about yarn substitutions. It's a really great post. So please be sure to check it out. We'll put links in both groups and the newsletter, but you can also just find it by going to juliamadill.com. And then from there, you'll do a few other, I think we have at least a couple blog posts.
Yep.
And a couple other things, but we've got you covered. I'm excited about it. I really love this project, and I'm just thrilled for you. It's so fun watching you be out on your own and apply all of that amazing, like invaluable knowledge that you've gained over your career to really doing you. So thanks for teaming up with us for this crochet along.
Thank you.
All right. So everybody just go to yarnyay.com if you want to get one of our overprint kits. Otherwise, go ahead and go any of the places to do any of the things, but join us on Ravelry or Facebook. And don't forget to check if you don't have the magazine already and want the digital version so that you can have the pattern right now. We do have a code at yarnyay.com under the overprint kit page to get you 20% off of that. All right, we will see you on the boards. I'm looking forward to watching you all create your overprint bags.